Thank you for being here. As always, I have very high expectations of you all in terms of the way you listen to everything that we talk about here. Felicity's being very generous to participate as a client. And so I would ask that as you're listening, right, you are working to listen as a therapist with interest and curiosity and care and compassion. And so I encourage you guys as we're going to jot down notes, whether it's questions for me, questions for you, to explore, because I think these are opportunities where you can really ask what's going on in my mind and what's going on in your mind, and those two things might not always match. Sometimes there might be a mismatch there. So sound good? And are we on? Yep. Yeah. It's on. Am I on? We're on. Mm-hmm. So what time is it? So we'll go for about 35 or 40 minutes. Cool? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So welcome. What are you noticing just as you're...
Just a tad nervous.
Yeah.
A tad nervous, yeah.
How's the nervousness showing up for you right now?
Just like a small feeling in my stomach.
In your stomach, yeah. What's the feeling like?
Kind of hard to tell. It's like it's barely there.
It's barely there?
It's barely there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a feeling. Like,
it's just a feeling?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it, could it be like a tightness? Is it a heaviness? Is it a hollowness or a tension?
Probably a hollowness.
A hollowness,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's happening as we're kind of turning our attention towards it? Is it getting clearer or is it getting farther away? Like
it's getting clearer.
It's getting clearer.
Yeah.
What's it saying? If that feeling of hollowness could speak, that nervousness?
I think just like it's just a new experience.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just kind of have to like start it and then that's it.
Yeah. Good. How is it being in front of the class?
It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So, where should we begin?
Yeah, okay, so I've been thinking about this a lot because I've been anticipating that I've been going to be up here a lot. Okay, so one of the things that I've been thinking about is my household had a reunion, or not a reunion, a retreat a few weeks ago. And there was one night where we were like all at the dinner table and I was just kind of like left out of the conversation for about like an hour. And during that time, I was just kind of reflecting on like how out of it like I was and like how separated I felt. But then it kind of made me realize that I often feel that way in groups, and I often feel just like just unseen. Not really unwanted though. Like I have a lot of like very close like one-on-one relationships with the other girls in household. But just like for whatever reason in groups, it doesn't seem to carry over in the same way. Yeah.
Feels like just feels like a big sadness kind of entered the room. Do you feel that?
I think a little bit.
A little bit.
I think a little bit.
A little bit.
I think the fact that I know that it's not like them just not wanting me, I think that like helps relieve some of the sadness.
What's been happening as you've been talking, like as you've been telling me about this experience?
I think just like a little bit of relief. Yeah. Just that I articulated it.
Yeah. So you're what was happening for you in that moment? Like when you were sitting there, and were you in the room? Mm-hmm. And you were kind of at the table?
Yeah. So
you were just like, tell me about it.
Yeah. So we were like all at the table, and I was like at the head of the table, and both of the girls that were next to me were like completely turned the other way, like giving attention like to the person, like the other people next to them.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like watching the whole thing, I guess. And yeah, I was just, I guess, like noting the fact that like I was very like physically separated. Like they were literally turned the other way. Yeah, and I guess I was just kind of thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my initial response was just like surprise. I think I thought like of all of the groups that I would feel like very included in, especially in group settings, that like this would be it. Yeah, so that just the fact that it wasn't was surprising.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear this, it kind of feels like there's kind of this play between like this like weird, it sounds like on the one hand it feels to me like you have a lot of control of the situation. Like I kind of feel like you're like, yeah, I get it, I understand it, I like understand like I felt left out, but I didn't feel excluded, but I just didn't feel like connected. And there's some sadness here, but I hear a lot of like thinking. Like it sounds like gone through this a lot of times and kind of have a pretty good grasp for what was happening.
Yeah, I think this is probably the first time that I've really thought about it.
Yeah, right now.
No, like in that moment, like when I was in that moment.
Yeah.
On retreat, that was kind of the first moment that I really thought about how I like felt in group settings. So like those sorts of things had like happened before, but I don't think I really took the time to think about it. Yeah.
And so what's been standing out as you've been thinking about like this experience of disconnection in group settings? What has been sticking out to you? What's been coming to mind?
It makes sense why I don't like groups.
Yeah.
Yeah, I very much so prefer like one-on-ones with people. And even when it's a group of friends and like I'm the connection between all of the people, I just still don't really like it.
Yeah.
I don't like that when I'm in a group, there seems to be like a lack of attentiveness or a lack of, I guess, just like being seen. And so I like don't enjoy creating that environment with other people either. So I tend to like avoid creating groups, but then I also tend to avoid just like being in groups in the first place. Yeah.
And what's happening right now as you're saying all of this?
I think it's just clicking. Yeah.
What's clicking?
I guess just like the connections between why I avoid this sort of thing. Yeah.
Sounds like it's been kind of confusing and pretty painful.
Yeah.
Just like this whole experience of the way you relate and connect in groups or feel disconnected, it sounds just like it's kind of been chaotic or hasn't made sense, or it's just kind of felt like an idiosyncrasy. And it's just making a little bit more sense now.
Yeah.
What's your hope here with this all?
I guess just like to feel seen.
Yeah.
Like as you were just talking, I think I was starting to connect more with the fact that there's like kind of a void that's been left just from like continuously feeling like unnoticed in that way. So yeah.
I can feel that. I can feel that slowing. I can feel that kind of like thickening
like
of the emotion.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's feeling more dense and more present here. What would happen if we really let it show up here? Those feelings of sadness, that feeling of not being seen, the parts of you desiring to be seen.
I might cry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would that be for you?
Usually when I cry, it's pretty relieving.
Yeah. But how would it be here?
don't think it would be that bad. Like, I think it would be relieving.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to miss you. And I think there's parts of your story and parts of what you're telling me that I think I'm kind of getting, but it also feels at points like I am missing something. And I just want to let you know that if there's any point today as we're talking and you do feel missed by me, like, I really want to welcome you to bring me in on that and let me know. Because I don't really know if there's a greater human pain than disconnection. And it would be really shitty if, as we were talking about the disconnection that you felt, we just repeated in some other way that same thing here. So, tell me a little bit about, like, being seen. Tell me a little bit about that, like, that longing, that desire to be understood, to be known, to be seen, to be included.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very strong desire for sure. I think especially feeling understood. Yeah.
Where do you feel it? Where does it show up for you in your body?
Just kind of in my chest, just like a heaviness in my chest, yeah.
Yeah. We can let it be here. We can give it permission. Let's connect with the heaviness. Tell me a little bit more, just as you tune into it, as you notice it, as you kind of give it permission to be here. What else you notice?
It's moving to my stomach.
Moving to your stomach,
yeah.
And what's your stomach feeling like?
Just like a pit. Yeah.
There's space here.
There's
space here for the pit. Is it that same hollowness you were telling me about, or is it different?
I think it's a little different. Yeah, there's more of a heaviness. It's way more intense. Yeah.
Tell me about the intensity. Like, what are you noticing?
Yeah, like I just feel it a lot more. So it's a great heaviness. It's not just like slightly showing up, I guess.
Yeah. And as it is expanding and you're noticing the intensity increase, is it still allowed to be here, or do you notice yourself wanting to push it away?
I definitely notice the resistance.
Yeah, tell me, where do you feel that, and how's that resistance showing up?
Yeah, like the feelings, it's like, to put it in an analogy, I guess, it's like a light flickering is kind of what it feels like.
The resistance, or the
feeling?
The feeling itself.
Yeah,
it's like light
the
flickering.
feeling itself. Yeah.
And tell me about the resistance, that feeling of wanting to push it away.
Ooh, I don't know.
Let's welcome that here too.
Okay. I think I don't really know how I can change the situation in the first place.
Yeah.
And so I think the resistance is coming from a place of, I've done like everything that I know how to do to like form these connections.
Yeah.
And so at that point, like, I can control what I'm giving, but I can't really control how people are receiving me.
It feels like a block.
Yeah.
Like there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
Like, and you've done it.
Yeah.
And that hurts. That feeling of wanting connection so bad and hitting that limitation, and like that feeling of helplessness. us here. What's happening for you?
I think I'm fully in the emotion now. I guess I still want a solution though.
Yeah.
Or I want to understand fully, like, what can I do to form those connections? What can I do differently? And I guess I want to make the connection between, like, what am I capable of changing, and then what's just completely out of my control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feeling connected here?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I don't know if I'm a little bit more numb to the emotion, or if you're just expressing it a little bit stronger than I'm feeling it, maybe. I don't know. I haven't decided yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it feels like simultaneously at points here today, it feels like the emotion is like really, really close, but also like really far away.
Yeah. I think actually maybe the way that I would describe it is it feels very, very close. But like sometimes I'm looking at it, and sometimes I'm just like looking at the thoughts behind it, and not necessarily like the emotion itself.
Yeah.
It's like I'm still like feeling the emotion.
Yeah.
Just like looking a little bit away from it, and then kind of back to it, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what would happen if you let the emotion show up here between me and you?
I don't know. I guess in my mind that wouldn't necessarily solve anything.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see how that would necessarily help the situation.
I'm wondering if, like, you trying to solve the situation right now is actually creating a distance here.
How so?
It feels a little bit hard to connect with you.
Because I'm not connecting to the emotion?
I don't know why.
Okay.
But like as I'm sitting here, I feel like this sense of like this readiness of like, yeah, I want to do this. Like, I'm in. I feel pretty good about it. And also it feels like it just feels like there's a distance here. Like, it feels like at times it feels like you're inaccessible. Like, I feel like I'm missing you. Like, I feel like I'm hearing the words that you're saying, and I'm like seeing your willingness and your openness. You're like wanting to be here. I see that like I can hear it. I mean, as you're talking, it almost feels like it just like keeps running up into this like wall, and just like that limitation you were speaking to earlier, like I don't know what to do. Like, I feel that. I can see that. I can see and have a sense for your thoughtfulness, like for your ability to figure things out and make sense out of them. And at the same time, it feels at times like that's, as you're trying to figure it out, it feels like you go farther away.
Farther away from
me.
Okay.
Can I check in with what it's like to hear that from me?
I think initially when you said that it feels like there's a disconnection, I was just like, yeah, like, here we go again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ouch.
But there's still not like an answer as to why.
Mm-mm.
So that's frustrating. I think kind of like towards the end of everything that you were saying, I was just thinking about like, I don't feel like you've necessarily like entered in, but I don't know why. Like, I feel like I can articulate that, like, I'm fine with you doing that, and I like feel safe in that.
Yeah.
But I don't know why. I don't know why it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hear that, and that's kind of what it feels like. I hear it's like doors are open, but the room feels empty. Like, I hear you saying, like, well, the doors are open here, and I'm like, yeah, but like, Felicity, where are you? It was so sad to hear you just say, like, here we go again. But I think what we can actually connect with is not trying to figure out why there's a disconnection between us here, but actually learning to connect on the disconnection. Like, I don't see this disconnection here as a problem that we need to solve. Because I think if we try to solve the problem of our disconnection right now, it's going to send you up here, it's going to send me up here, and we'll probably find a lot of really good, like, we'll probably map out the train like pretty well. I think you can like probably do a lot of work that would feel like figuring it out. But I think it'd be pretty easy to walk away and maybe feel like, oh, we figured it out, but then feel like, yeah, but it just kind of actually felt also like a similar aching feeling of like, oh, but I still kind of feel distant here from myself or from the group. And so I think rather we can actually like let the pain of like, here we go again, show up, and let the pain of disconnection be here. We don't have to do anything about it. We can honor it by being with it. And oftentimes what our feelings need isn't doing, isn't fixing. Feeling isn't something that can be fixed. What our feelings and our pains need is just to be honored, just to be seen. And this is exactly what you were telling me about, like, I was there, but I just didn't feel like I was seen. I felt like backs were torn, not just I felt like, but it was like the doors were closed, and I was left on the outside. And it sounds like that's how some of these parts of you that have these feelings of disconnection feel, like left on the outside. Bring me in on what's happening for you.
I guess I'm thinking about, like, I'm fine with, like, opening any of those doors within myself and, like, going into those rooms. I just don't necessarily know how. But I guess that in and of itself is a feeling to go into. Yeah, so I guess just kind of sitting with that. Yeah, I guess I'm still thinking about just like the feeling of, like, when you first said that you were feeling a disconnection here too.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things that I was kind of thinking is darn, like there's a disconnection and it's a one-on-one, like it's not in a group. Yeah, so it was just kind of like, oh, I thought it was like more like one of my strengths, I guess, to be able to, like, articulate and, like, to feel with someone, like, specifically in a one-on-one setting. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess I'm still thinking about that a little bit. But yeah.
Feeling defeated?
Not completely. Yeah, no, not completely. Yeah, I don't feel like completely defeated. Maybe I don't know, I guess if there was like a scoreboard, like it would just be like a negative point, like that kind of thing. So not like total defeat.
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
You're like, oh gosh, like I'm taking stock and it's like, thought I was up here, but that thing that I thought was really my strength, like, oh, it's not what I thought it was. And I'm thinking too about what you shared with me, just of like this experience at retreat, and just feeling like, oh wait, I felt this before. And that, like, seeing, but also the pain of the connection, like seeing the connection was painful too, of like, oh, there's a history there, there's a story there. And as I heard you saying earlier too, it's like, yeah, but I can connect with people one-on-one, so it's like, it's okay. And I was like, oh, maybe that's something, maybe that's different than I think it is too. That's scary. I feel just like so much fear and uncertainty, unsureness. Like a little bit like the floor or the rug's been pulled out.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, I think a little bit, but I think there's also, I have a great deal of confidence in, like very like specific friendships that I have formed.
Yeah.
So it's not like, I don't feel like I'm being engulfed by fear by any means.
Good.
Yeah, I think it's more something that I just like intend to be mindful of. Yeah. Yeah.
I can hear you just like very much like making sense of it all. Like checking yourself and also being like, okay, but I'm okay. Like I have these connections here.
Yeah.
Like I'll be okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to just rip the floor from under you. I don't think that because there's a disconnection here, that means that there's disconnection everywhere. I don't think that's what it means.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think it needs to be extrapolated, you know, or be like, oh, that's no good. I think you're right, of like, oh, maybe we're checking in with something like, oh, maybe this thing that I thought was here isn't exactly what I thought, but
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That feeling still sticks out to me of like, and I think it's maybe connected to what you're saying here of like, not again. Like, what did you say? Like, here we go again. Or,
Yeah.
here we go again.
Mm-hmm.
Just that like sinking feeling of like, oh.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I think, yeah, like I described it as kind of like a negative point. Yeah, just like going down a point. But I think, yeah, I think that like by having that feeling again, it did like take me back to the previous feeling that we were talking about with household, and like that felt like a -5. Like that was much more impactful. Because I do feel like I've like built connections with them. Yeah, so I guess it was just kind of like, wow, like this early on for there to be a disconnection is different. Is not what I was expecting, I guess.
Yeah, tell me about that. This early on for there to be a disconnection.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm just thinking like, just like because like you don't know me very well, so it seems like in my mind there's like a ton of points that we could be connecting on, because like everything's new. So like the fact that like already there seems to be a disconnection is just kind of surprising to me, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much information, so many things we could talk about that we could find that point of convergence, that we could be close. Yeah. And so for there to be so many things that could be connected on, what does the feeling of disconnection mean there? Like, what's the significance of like, well, there's so many things that could be connected on. And you kind of said like for you to feel that that early on, like what does that mean to you?
I think it's just like disappointing, or just like again, just like am I needing to change something that I'm doing, or like what is there something just like in the situation? Is it the person that I'm talking with? Like, is there just disconnection there? Like that sort of thing. Yeah.
Could be. Could be a lot of those things. Could be many of them combined. What are you noticing? You can see your eyes kind of welling a little bit.
Yeah, I think I was just making the connection of like kind of, I guess, like the gravity, I guess, or like the fact that there are so many things that we could be connecting on, and we're not. Like once you like re-articulated it to me, I was like, wow, like there's so many things. That's crazy. Yeah, so I think just having it re-articulated just kind of like made me go like even deeper into it. Yeah, or like make the full connection, I guess. Yeah.
It feels like almost like this doesn't make sense. Like, why is this happening? Like, if there's so many things that we could be connected on, like, why the hell isn't there a feeling of connection here?
Yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily showing up in that way. Like, it's not like a.
Yeah.
It's not as much of a frustration as much of just like oh, like that's unfortunate.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
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 What's it like to not know?
I think in my mind it's like something new for me to explore a little bit. I enjoy problem solving, so it's like fun in that way, but also like because of the kind of situation, it's not really something that I like want to have a problem in. Like I want to be connected.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yet, I get this picture of kind of like, well, if I could solve all the problems, then I could experience connection here.
Yeah, like maybe eventually. I think maybe I'm more concerned with solving it like on my end, and like if there's something that I can change, then like I want to change it.
Yeah.
If the situation's like outside of me, then I just want to be aware of that.
Yeah.
So that I can kind of like move on per se.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if the situation's outside of you, meaning it's between me and you,
Mm-hmm.
if the resolution is just to kind of like move on because it's something outside of me, like it seems like this like problem solving isn't working.
I guess so. I mean, like it hasn't been solved.
Yeah. But like like maybe it's a different kind of thing than like a problem.
What would you say it is?
Something to be present to.
Mm-hmm.
I think today when you and I have been in the kind of problem-solving mode, there's been the most distance between us. And in fact, that's actually something that's one of those things that we can connect on, right? We can connect on solving the same problem.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, in terms of intimacy, there's actually like a bigger distance. I think actually the times that I've experienced the most closeness here, the most intimacy, has been the times of coming up of like, yeah, I don't know what to do. Yeah, that's scary to hear. Yeah, I feel like here we go again.
Mm-hmm.
When you told me with that, when you said that feeling of like, here we go again, I felt very close to you. And we weren't solving the problem. We weren't fixing anything. We're just naming what's here between you and I. Like a pain of being missed by me, like feeling on the outside, feeling like you're doing what you can to be connected here, and it's still feeling like it's not happening. I feel like I don't know what to do because I feel like I'm doing everything on my end, yet I'm still coming up short. Like just in sharing that here, there was something very different than kind of fixing it or even bringing forth the problem. Like you said it at one point. You said, and I love the imagery of like, I feel like I'm welcome. Like, Jean Paul, I'm open and up. Like I'm willing to open the doors. I just don't know which doors to open or how to do it. And you captured it perfectly there. You said, and maybe that's in itself is a feeling. This feeling of hopelessness, this feeling of not knowing what to do, this feeling of like, I don't know how to figure this one out. and we can't figure out the problem of not being able to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great tool. Figuring it out and problem solving is a great, great, great tool. But it's not the tool for intimacy. And, right, we're not doing in relationship, we're being in relationship.
Mm-hmm. It feels like there's a lot of connections that are like halfway being made.
Mm.
But that's it. Like, just halfway.
It's okay.
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, I'm definitely a very, very calculated person.
Yeah.
So, like, I was definitely thinking about that, but also, like, when I problem solve, it's very much so, like, in my head. Very, very much so.
Yeah.
And so letting someone in on the isn't action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, showing the instruction manual, like I'm thinking about like IKEA,
Yeah.
right? Because anytime I think about like showing someone the instruction manual of like, this is how you build it, this is what I created, is
Yeah.
much different than this guy being in studio all night long. Oh, that won't work, this won't work, that won't work, this won't work. The product, like sharing that product of like, this is how I did it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much different than sharing the process of like, dude, that was a freaking grueling thing to do. It was really hard. It's really difficult.
Yeah.
And it can be really easy, especially as a therapist, right? I remember I realized this one time in a group, and one time I mean like probably like a year ago, right? It wasn't like way back. No, it's like a very recent thing that I've learned is that like I'm very, very good at presenting myself as like a case presentation. I can tell you my attachment style. I can tell you like these are my defenses, you know. But to tell you I'm scared, to tell you I'm overwhelmed and I don't know how to ask for help, that scares the shit out of me. And that's something that's so much harder, you know, for me to do. And you know, there's a type of self-knowledge, right, that kind of we can share. Like, oh, this is like you said, we can like share the product, but the inside look is something different, you know. But the other thing that's been just sticking out to me today as we've been talking is some things can't be solved by effort. Like I can kind of see you like working really hard and really fast, and like I could just see it. I can see the sharpness. I can see it just like like running the numbers, crunching it all, you know. And that's a great tool. Like that is a great resource that you have. That's I'm sure served you so well. It'll continue to serve you so well. But there's some things like intimacy that can't be resolved by trying harder. And they need a different approach. And that different approach can't be solved by problem solving. Right? So it really puts us in a little bit of a bind because we need to learn, okay, it's not that I need to do something different per se. It's like learning, I need to learn how to look at this like from a different like dimension. I need to expand my orientation, like in how I consider this. And that can feel like the rug's pulled out from under us at times. That can feel scary to step outside the problem solving, because that's the very thing that can give us such security.
Mm-hmm.
But what comes with stepping outside the problem solving is also a relief of like, oh, not everything's a problem to be solved. Like, in time that actually comes as a relief of like, oh, okay, like I can sit back, I can lean back a little bit, I don't have to fix it all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering what just the last few minutes here as I've been talking, what's been going on for you?
Honestly, I feel like you just said a lot of words but said very little.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Like.
Thanks for the honesty.
Yeah. So like. I feel like I'm being told's not quite the right word. Like, I feel like a new idea is like being presented to me, but just very, very vaguely. And so, like when you said I need to look at it from a new dimension, I'm like, what dimension's that? Like, throw me in there and I'll go. Like that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. There's a lot of fluff.
Yeah.
Didn't really connect. Yeah, I think I was probably trying to. Wrap this up in a nice bow. And I think that was probably a pretty big miss, because I think that was probably more about me than it was about really helping you out here. I'm sorry about that. It's hard work, and it takes time. But I am really grateful to maybe grab onto one piece of that new dimension, like, it's this. It's naming things in relationship that don't feel fun or don't feel good to name. That's what it is. There's no rush either.
Mm-hmm.
And it's learning, I think. Like that problem solving part of you, it's learning to build a relationship with that part of you, so that you can be connected to that part when that part is a really helpful resource. But so that also in times of disconnection, you can actually have some space from that to say, hey, I feel disconnected. And then you can process that in relationship. I really appreciate your honesty. I could feel it. I could feel that it was a miss, and then I doubled down, and it was a double miss. Yeah. What's it been like to be here today?
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy that I don't have to like anticipate it anymore.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's fine. It's totally fine.
About that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that should be said here before we wrap up?
I don't think so.
No?
Yeah.
Cool. Good. So how would you feel about opening it up to questions, comments?
Fine.
Yeah. Great. Yes, Nick.
I have two questions. So one, when she was right at the beginning, right when she was like ready to be opened up and like go right into a situation, how did that make you feel as a therapist?
I wasn't quite sure, because I could feel like I could feel a desire to be open. I could feel a belief of being open, and at the same time, it felt like there was a distance. So I felt a little bit unsure, and but I also I really try to take what people say at face value. Like, I feel curious, but I didn't feel like suspicious, or I was just like, oh, that's interesting. That's a lot of openness. And also, like, I don't know, there was kind of this feeling of like, okay, now what? You know? And maybe part of that too was kind of the like kind of some of the problem solving of like, okay, like now where do we go? Like now what do we do?
And then for Felicity, I think when JP said there was a lot of fluff there, he apologized. I really don't think there was as much fluff as there might be. Like,
but it was fluff to her. That's the thing. It was a miss.
Yeah, okay.
To somebody else, it might not have been, right? To somebody else, it might have been like, oh my gosh, that's the thing that I needed to hear. But this is why in the interpersonal theory, we are active rather than directive, right? Or non-directive, because plus I know when I'm fluffing. But some people like my fluff and some people don't. That's another thing too. And sometimes fluff is helpful, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's fluffier than others. But yeah, go ahead. I cut you off.
I was just wanted to say I like really admire you for actually stepping out, like being upfront with everything. And I think from what I learned, like from watching you, makes me realize that I might also have problems that like I need to sort out as well. And I think through this scenario here, like you probably have now a leeway into like how to figure out where you're finding a disconnection with like people. And I think that was really cool. It was just really cool to watch how like sorting through it and like I don't know how I'm describing this, but like I just think it was really cool to watch you like open up. I know it may have felt like you didn't get anywhere, but I think I really was moved by this. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, and I think too, one of the things that can happen that's really helpful is when we are willing to name what's in the room and what we're feeling, we can help so that other people can put a name to what they feel in other circumstances too. Like it was, I think, a painful moment. It was like, oh, and again too, I think it's really important not to say like, oh, you're feeling disconnected here, so there's no intimacy ever in relationships, right? When we are in difficult situations, like new situations, right, our defenses that serve us best come out and protect us, right? So it's important to know that this is not like a normal situation by any means, and being in therapy isn't either, but I do think there's value to being able to say like, oh, okay, that's what disconnection, that's what it feels like for somebody else to feel disconnected from me. Can be helpful, I think. Yeah. Other questions? I saw your hand, Mina.
Two questions for Felicity. One, do you feel like let's say with your friends at home, you can be in a group space and it's just a problem here, or it's just a general problem?
It's just a general problem. Yeah.
Then another question, well, to the both of you. I kind of felt like John Paul was kind of forcing feelings on you. I don't know if I'm like seeing that wrong, but it just felt like, you know, you weren't feeling anything. He kept on telling you like, why are you not feeling anything? Like, you should be feeling anything. That's how I was hearing it. And to my point, that just brings up this whole idea that we're not supposed to force feelings upon our clients. We do it unintentionally. How did that make you feel, and how would we fix that problem?
Yeah, so I would say there were definitely moments where I was like, you're going way deeper into that feeling than I was feeling it. Sometimes that was helpful though. So sometimes it was like, oh yeah, I guess I haven't allowed myself to like just recognize that I do feel that feeling so deeply. Other times it was just kind of like, are you sure you're not exaggerating there? Because like I don't feel that. I don't feel it to that extent. So yeah. I don't ever want to force feelings on people, but I do take a lot of risks. Of like, when we started, I said, oh, it feels like there's a lot of sadness. Like, for whatever reason, like, it felt like there was just this huge sadness that stepped into the room, and I could have started crying like that. Now, was that me? That was what I was feeling, right? Was that a feeling that you were feeling? Maybe. Was it feeling that somebody out here was feeling? Maybe. Was it just an impulse? Something like that? Could be, right? Like, that feeling could be off.
But I've learned that as a therapist, I'm much better when I take the risk to say, hey, it feels really sad here. Like, I don't really necessarily know why. Now, maybe I do that unartfully at times, and I do that in a forceful way, and I never mean to, certainly. But that's the other part of the interpersonal theory, is that I mean, if you were able to tell me at the end, like, hey, that doesn't feel helpful, I would think that if we continue to work together, you would be able to say, like, hey, John Paul, I feel like you're forcing feelings on me. So there might be misses, there will be misses in the moment to moment, but if the process is safe and correct, you'll be able to correct those misses by telling me, hey, John Paul, that's a miss. And so maybe that might take multiple corrections to kind of get the kind of size right in terms of response, but
yeah, a little bit of like a clarification. I don't think it ever felt like he was forcing anything on me. It just felt like, yeah, you're going somewhere that I'm not quite going. Like there was just a disconnection, or just like a miss. Yeah, so it didn't really feel forced.
Now, I mean, if you were in therapy, right, it would be like, John Paul, I feel like you're forcing feelings on me. That would actually be, right, it would go, so the way, if objectively what I'm responding to is bigger than what is here, you're experiencing it, right, as a disconnection. Another moment, the core difficulty and pain, you're experiencing it as something being forced upon you that you don't want, right? So it's still going to be kind of funneled through, our defenses. Vanessa, did you have a quick one? Got your question. Okay, cool. We will pick up on Tuesday. I never know what day it is. I never know. Yeah, thank you very, very, very much.